One thing that you will likely be asked about on Wednesday night is foreign policy. And you recently said that to protect Taiwan, you would do this.
Guess what? We'll put a gun in every Taiwanese household, train them how to use it. That is how you make Xi Jinping think twice.
Do you really think that would be a sufficient plan to deter a Chinese invasion if it includes long-range missiles, ground troops, an aerial blockade, a naval blockade?
Caitlin,
all of the different measures here?
Caitlin, of course it's not sufficient. You take that tiny little clip when I've articulated at the Nixon Library last week, a 1-hour speech with a whole range of deterrents. That is part of it. But I've also said that I would pull Russia out of its military alliance with China. I've also said that we would bolster our partnership with India to be able to close the Andaman Sea and the Malacca Strait. I've also said that we would actually send a signal very clearly that we will defend Taiwan, moving from strategic ambiguity to strategic clarity to say that we will defend Taiwan until we have semiconductor independence in this country. And so, yes, part of this is turning Taiwan into a porcupine. I think exporting our Second Amendment is a relatively free or low-cost way to do that. But I find it laughable that you will take that clip and then put words into my mouth as though that was a sufficient deterrent. Caitlin, with due respect, that's a joke, especially when I've offered as expansive of a deterrent strategy as I have.
It's not putting words into your mouth, and it's not saying that you didn't say those other things. It's just saying that you did say that part of your effort when it comes to Taiwan is giving people in Taiwan handguns.
This is really funny, Caitlin. It's been very educational for me to learn how media works. Yes, that is important. No one ever said that was sufficient to deter an invasion. From India to Russia to what I've said we would do with moving Ohio-class SSGNs to the South China Sea and to the Indo-Pacific. This is the stuff of actual deterrence and also strategic clarity that we would actually defend Taiwan. Yes, I do think I am the president who best knows how to deter China from going after Taiwan before we've achieved semiconductor independence, which is the most important foreign policy accomplishment the next U.S. president can deliver. And I gave a specific speech at the Nixon Library. In a big part, actually moving Russia out of China's alliance. But you also said that you would open up an NRA bureau in Taiwan. Is the reverse of what Nixon would have done.
I mean, you also talked about.
Yes,
I just think when you listen to plans to deter China, it typically focuses on radar systems and missiles that they need, not necessarily AR-15s.
Caitlin, you might be able to do this trick better with other candidates who don't really know how to respond to the game.
It's not a trick. I'm just simply asking what your plan is with Taiwan and following up on something you suggested.
What I have said countless times is strategic partnership with India to close the Malacca Strait if necessary. That's where China gets its Middle Eastern oil supplies. The number one thing to do, I've said, is end the war in Ukraine by pulling apart the Russia-China alliance. Xi Jinping's calculus right now is that if the U.S. actually is in dual conflict with Russia and China, then that makes it easier for China to go after Taiwan. So I say disband that alliance. I also think that we should, and I've said this many times, we should take one of the destroyers that are in Japan, run one a week through the Taiwan Strait until we've achieved semiconductor independence. Move to two Ohio-class SSGNs loaded with 100-plus Tomahawks apiece to the South China Sea and to the Indian Ocean. This is part of a comprehensive strategy that I've articulated in multiple places. But as part of that, I do think there's a reason why China does not have a Second Amendment. China is deathly afraid of a Second Amendment in its own country. And so making that an export to Taiwan is part of what many military experts call the porcupine strategy, which I do subscribe to and believe in. But I will not allow someone to put words in my mouth to say that I ever said that was sufficient. It is not.